Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. For those of you who are watching me for the very first time, my name is James Ambroise, and on this channel we cover how to pay off debt faster than any other debt repayment method out there. We cover basic bookkeeping and accounting for someone who just started out a small business. We cover basic personal income tax to include a Schedule C, Schedule E, depreciation. I am also the author, creator of Ambroise Method 1.0 and Ambroise Method 2.0. Ambroise Method is a revolutionary debt repayment method that offers greater results in terms of reducing interest cost compared to debt snowball, debt avalanche, velocity begging. Real quick about my credentials. I have been or am a bookkeeper and accountant, QuickBooks Pro advisor, senior tax advisor, residential real estate investor, residential property manager, financial coach. And as always, before we get started with what's on the board, please allow me to shout out the name Jesus, my Lord, my God, my Creator. Thank you. All right, America, on the board we have this hypothetical scenario of somebody who filled out one of my Microsoft Excel worksheets, and the person provided me with these figures for debt. This person has a Capital One credit card, Wells Fargo credit card, Regions ELOC, and Shell Point mortgage. Okay, the credit limit 15,800, APR 29%, balance owed 15,150, 15,150, monthly payment charge $517.09, availability. America, remember from prior lesson that the availability is the relationship between the credit limit and the balance owed. That relationship calls for a subtraction operation, 15,800 minus 15,150. That's how we arrive at 650 bucks. Okay. Credit utilization is the relationship between the balance owed and the credit limit. That relationship calls for a division operation, 15,150 divided by 15,800. That's how we arrive at 95.89%. Payment rates charged. Payment rates charged is the relationship between the monthly payments charged and the balance owed. That relationship calls for a division operation, $517.09 divided by 15,150. That's how we arrive at 3.41%. Now, on the Capital One credit card, right now, Capital One is not offering any balance transfer promotions. And the statement date or the statement closing date on the Capital One is on the 2nd of the month, so 2nd of current month. Okay. For Wells Fargo credit card, right now Wells Fargo is not offering any balance transfer promotion, and the statement date or the statement closing date on the Wells Fargo credit card was on the 3rd of this month, so 3rd of current month. Okay. Regions ELOC. Region is charging $50 minimum. Okay. It is a 10-year draw, and right now we're still inside the draw period. Region is charging principal and interest, and the statement date or the statement closing date on Regions ELOC was on the 16th of the prior month. Okay. Some of them, the statement date is on the current month, but for the Regions ELOC, the statement date was in the prior month, in the month prior. Okay. Now for Shell Point mortgage, it is a 30-year fixed mortgage, and there's an escrow account, and the escrow account is $800 bucks. Okay. And there's a forced placed insurance on the property. We're gonna kind of go over that if I remember a little later in the lesson. Okay, so we're doing a scenario for a married couple. Okay, So the wife, she's a stay-at-home mom, but the husband has a traditional 9-to-5 job. Okay? So the husband income is on a bi-weekly pay period. So he get paid on the 7th, and the next paycheck will come 14 days later on the 21. Okay? His total income for those two paychecks after tax is $8,222.14. Okay? The household expense, $5,522.14. Now, out of these expenses, America, $3,000 could go on a credit card. Okay? These are all the expenses that could go on a credit card. Electricity could go on a credit card. Water could go on a credit card. YouTube TV, credit card. Netflix, credit card. Cell phone, for both the wife and the husband, could go on a credit card. Groceries could go on a credit card. Fuel for the vehicles could go on a credit card. Restaurant could go on a credit card. Beauty and skincare could go on a credit card. Clothes and shoes could go on a credit card. Car insurance for both of them could go on a credit card. Okay? All these items could go on a credit card, and when you add them up, the total is $3,000. Okay? Now, household debt, $115,207. The debt, that's when you add all the balances that we have on the board. $15,150 plus $4 plus $53 plus $100,000. That's how we arrive at $115,207. And their cash flow, $2,700. America, remember from prior lesson, that cash flow is the relationship between the income and the expense. That relationship calls for a subtraction operation. So $8,222.14 minus $5,522.14. That's how we arrive at $2,700 in cash flow. Okay. All right. Today we're doing case study number 13. And today's date is January 18, 2025. That is the day we're doing the video. January 18, 2025. Okay. America, from past lessons, I told you guys that I have 3 more lessons that I need to cover. Event priority, at least 3 more lessons. Event priority, consolidation of due date, and 3 alternative accounts simultaneously. And today we're going to take care of event priority. Okay? All right, folks. I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look at what's on the board, and then we're going to start with the exercise. And again, folks, today's lesson is going to be about event priority. And for our purpose, an event priority is an event that takes priority or takes precedence over everything else. Okay? Now, in this hypothetical scenario, America, this married couple approached me via email. So they sent me an email, and the wife wants to attack the mortgage, but the husband does not want to attack the mortgage. He wants to attack other account that we have on the board. So he approached me, and he wanted me to convince his wife that attacking the mortgage is not the proper account to attack. Okay, why? Okay, from his point of view, the mortgage is at 3%. When we have other accounts on the board, Capital One 29%, Wells Fargo 18%, and we have a Regions ELOC 12%. Okay? So he's been watching some of my videos, so he recognizes the interest rate on the mortgage is considerably lower, not just lower, but considerably lower compared to the other interest rate that we have on the board. So that is why he does not want to attack the mortgage. Okay? So when I asked the wife why does she want to attack the mortgage, and the wife is she got spooked because one of her neighbor lost her house via foreclosure. Okay? Which is a valid reason now. Okay? So now for that reason, she's not too concerned about saving on interest costs. Okay? She just want to have peace of mind that the mortgage is paid off. Okay? And this property also have a force-placed insurance. A force-placed insurance, for lack of better terms, America, that is when either you don't want to acquire new property insurance or you cannot acquire new insurance because in the state where they're from, most of the insurers, there's only a small pool of insurers, okay? And sometimes, depends on the state where you're from, because of natural disasters and things like that, okay? It might be kind of hard to acquire property insurance on those properties, okay? So this couple was not able to acquire property insurance on their own. So the lender or the servicer was forced to put a force-placed insurance on the property. So a lender placed insurance, okay, for lack of better terms. And the escrow account for tax and insurance is $800, okay? So the tax itself was $100, but the insurance was $700. That's how we arrive at an escrow balance of $800, okay? So the insurance, the property insurance is quite high, okay? And this insurance, not only that one include hazard, but you also include wind. And real quick, America, let's take a look at the Shell Point mortgage. The original loan amount was only $190,000, okay? But the monthly payments charged, okay, is $1,601.05, okay? So if the original loan amount was only at $190 and they're only charging 3%, so it's $190 at 3%. And remember, this one is a 30-year fix, so over 30 years. So the principal and interest portion should have been, like 61, looks like 80105, but let's just run it. Let's go to a calculator online. 190 was the original loan amount, 30-year terms at 3%. So the principal and interest portion should have been 80105 like we thought it was. 80105. Okay? So altogether, when you add them up, that's how we arrive at 160105. So 801.05 plus 100 for the tax portion plus 700 for the insurance portion. That's how we arrive again at $1,601.05. Okay? Okay? And again, $801.05 for principal and interest portion, $100 for tax, for property tax, and $700 for property insurance, which cover both hazard insurance and wind insurance, okay? In the state where they are from, okay? So altogether, the monthly payments charge $1,601.05, okay? And as you could see, America, the principal and interest is only $801. The tax and insurance is equally as much as the principal and interest payment, okay? 801, and these two combined, $800, okay? So, paying off the mortgage will give them more control because the following year, or whenever the insurance expires, okay, the lender might crank up the insurance again, okay? So once the mortgage is paid off, they will have more control whether they decide to be self-insured or they decide to go out there and get better insurance, okay? Because again, in that state, it's easier to get hazard, no problem, but the wind insurance could be a problem, okay? It could be quite expensive. And this 700 was the total for both hazard and wind. Okay, so maybe the hazard portion was, I don't know, $200, and the wind portion was 500, maybe. I don't know. That's how we arrive at that 700 total. Okay. All right. So all these reasons are valid reasons why the wife wants to attack the mortgage first. Okay, even though the mortgage is at 3%. First, they couldn't acquire property insurance on the property, okay? Because in the state where they're from, again, there are only a small pool of insurers, okay? So the lender was forced to put a lender-placed insurance or force-placed insurance on the property, okay? And not only that, her neighbor, she just lost her house via foreclosure, so wife got spooked, okay? So she wants to attack the mortgage first, okay? That is the event priority, okay? She's not concerned about it attacking any other account on the board. She's mainly concerned about attacking the mortgage because of valid reasons, okay? And again, folks, an event priority is an event that takes priority or precedence over everything else. The mortgage, in this example, is the event priority account. That mortgage will take priority or precedence over every other account that we have on the board. So for that reason, we're going to attack the mortgage first, okay? And again, folks, on our method, we generally do not attack a mortgage that is at 3%. The only exceptions, just like I've told you guys from past lessons, is when we're doing event priority. Okay? All right, America? Now let's run some numbers. Ambroise Method, America, calls for a series of steps. And those steps have to be taken at least once a month. And the steps, for those of you who missed that lesson: segregate, compare, transfer, repeat, cash flow or large payment. Then we have to insert the what? WHT. W, which account or accounts to use. H, how much of a payment to send to this account. And T, to pay down or off which debt. The steps again for Ambroise Method: segregate, compare, transfer. And on our method, we have at least 7 different ways on how we execute balance transfers. Okay? Then repeat, cash flow or large payment, and we have to insert the what? W, which account or accounts to use. H, how much of a payment to send to this account. And T, to pay down or off which debt. Okay? These are the steps again for Ambroise Method, and those steps have to be taken at least once a month. All right, America? Now let's segregate. The way we segregate, America, we segregate by account types. That is looking at the list of debt. And I prefer my revolving accounts on top and my installment credit account at the bottom. That's how we segregate. Revolving on top, installment at the bottom. Capital One credit card, W, so that card belongs to the wife. Wells Fargo credit card, H, so that card belongs to the husband. Regents ELOC, J for joint, so they have a joint ELOC, so wife's name is on the ELOC, husband's name is on the ELOC. Then SharePoint mortgage, J for joint, so it's a joint mortgage. Wife's name is on the mortgage, husband's name is on the mortgage, okay? So Capital One credit card, that's a credit card, that's revolving credit account. Wells Fargo credit card, another credit card, revolving credit account. Regents ELOC, remember America, for our purpose only, not for credit report purposes. When the ELOC is in a draw period, it is considered a revolving credit account for our purpose only, not for credit report purposes, okay? So the ELOC is in a draw period, so that's also revolving. So we have 3 revolving. In the SharePoint mortgage is a mortgage, so that's an installment credit account. So we have 3 revolvings, 1 installment, okay? And again, I like my revolvings on top, my installment at the bottom. The 3 revolvings are on top. That single installment, which is SharePoint mortgage, is at the bottom, okay? So to save time, so I've already rearranged the list, okay? So my list is perfect, okay? Next time, we compare. And the way we compare by APR between different account types. Remember, we have 3 revolving and 1 installment. Between the 3 revolving, okay, we compare by APR between different account types, so between the 3 revolving. As far as APR, I prefer the higher APR on top and the lower APR at the bottom, okay? So 29 is higher or bigger than 18. So 29 is listed first, then 18 is listed next, and 12 is the smallest one that we have on the board, okay, with regards to the 3 revolving, so 12 is listed last. The mortgage is a different kind, so the mortgage is by itself. So if we had more installment credit account, we'll compare all the installment, with themselves, highest to lowest, okay? So, and again, 29 is bigger, then 18 is next, then 12 is last, okay? As between those 3, all right? So, as far as comparing America, our list is perfect, and when we compare in America, we try to identify the enemy. We try to identify the troublemaker, okay? And the account that has the higher APR is generally the enemy. The account that has a higher APR is generally the troublemaker. However, because today we are doing event priority, okay? And again, event priority is an event that takes priority or precedence over everything else. Remember, the mortgage, in this case, gonna take priority or precedence over every other account. For that reason, America, we're going to treat the mortgage as if the interest rate is 99%. Why? Because we're doing event priority. In other words, we want to treat the interest rate on the mortgage as if that interest rate is considerably higher, not just higher, but considerably higher than any other interest rate that we have on the board, okay? So we're gonna treat it as if the interest rate is considerably higher, again, than any other interest rate that we have on the board, okay? When we're doing event priority. Why? Because we want this account to be first in line. And again, we want this account to have priority over every other account, okay? And again, folks, when we're doing event priority on an account, okay, during the account selection process only, we're gonna treat that account as if the interest rate is 99% or the interest rate is considerably higher than any other interest rate that we have on the board. Okay? So, for that reason, now SharePoint Mortgage is the enemy. SharePoint Mortgage is a troublemaker because we're going to treat it as if the interest rate is 99%. Only for account selection process only. Okay? Next, America, we transfer. And the way we transfer, America, we always try to relocate balance from an account that has a higher APR. Remember, we're treating the mortgage as if the interest is 99%. So the mortgage has the higher APR. So we're going to try to relocate balance from an account that has a higher APR, because that's how we're treating it, to an account that has lower APR. Since on the board we have multiple accounts with lower APRs, so we're going to go from absolute highest APR to absolute lowest APR. Well, the absolute lowest one is 12% because 12 is lower than 18, 12 is lower than 29. So again, we're going to try to relocate balances from higher APR account, then we're going to try to dump it onto a lower APR account, and the lowest one, Regions ELOC. Okay. When we take a look at the Regions America, Regions ELOC has availability, $20,447. Okay. So we have room for a transfer. Okay. And since later on we want to compare with Velocity Banking, we're gonna go only 20,000. So our transfer amount going to be 20,000 only. We could go a little higher, but I don't want this group to say, hey James, the reason why your results were slightly better is because you went higher on the credit limit for Regions ELOC. So we're gonna go 20 because more than likely Velocity Banking will go 20,000. Okay. For us, we could have gone a little higher, but we're gonna go 20,000. Okay, so we could compare apples to apples with Velocity Banking. Okay. All right, America. Now let's run Ambroise Method. Again, we're gonna try to relocate 20 grand from SharePoint Mortgage, and we're gonna try to dump it onto the Regions ELOC. Okay. So for that reason, capital one will stay the same. $15,800, 29%, 15,150, and right now we are not touching capital one. 51709, availability 650, credit utilization 95.89, payment rate charge 3.41. Okay. Next is Wells Fargo. Credit limit 6,300. APR 18%. Balance owed $4. Monthly payments charged. Wells Fargo charged minimum payment of $25. But since the balance is $4, they can only charge $4. They can only charge up to what the balance is if the balance is lower than the minimum payment that they charge. Minimum that they charge in this particular Wells Fargo credit card is $25, but the balance is only $4. Okay? So they can only charge up to the balance in this example, $4. Okay? Availability, $6,296. Credit utilization, again, we're not touching Wells Fargo right now. Payment rate charge, 100%. Okay? Regions ELOC. Now we did say we're going to touch Regions ELOC. Original loan amount or credit limit, 20,500. APR on the Regions ELOC, 12%. Balance owed. Now remember, we're going to relocate 20,000 from SharePoint Mortgage and dump it onto the Regions ELOC. So for that reason, Regions ELOC going to get increased by 20,000. And SharePoint Mortgage going to get decreased by 20,000. Okay? So 53 plus 20,000. So now we have 20,053. Okay? Monthly payments charged, $50. Again, Regions ELOC is charging a minimum payment of $50. Okay? But the statement date on Regions ELOC was on the 16th of prior month. So it was on the 16th. Let's assume we're in January. So let's say on 16th of December. So 16th of the prior month. Okay? So the statement date was on the 16th. Which means the due date on the Regions ELOC, well, what is the due date on the Regions ELOC is on the 10th, okay? So 16th was the statement date or statement closing date, and the 10th is the due date. Okay? So the closing statement date was on the 16th, but the due date was a few days later. Most of these lenders, for ELOC, some of them followed similar path, I guess, as a credit card. So it could be anywhere between 21 days to 25 days, okay? So 16th, that's December, has 31 days. So 31 minus 16, that's what, 15. And 15 plus 10. Looks like this one has, the due date is about 25 days. 24 to 25 days after the statement date for this Regions ELOC, okay? And again, folks, doesn't have to be 25 days for ELOC, okay? Most of these ELOCs, they could go, I've seen some that could go 14 days, 15 days, 16 days, 17, 18, 19, 20. It doesn't have to be 25 for ELOC. For credit card, most credit card by law, they have to give you at least 21 days, but most credit card gives you 25 days, okay? And again, even for credit card, doesn't have to be 25 days, okay? It could be anywhere between 21 to 25. That's only a certain credit card, by the way. I don't want to get too much into that, but as far as the Regions ELOC, the statement date was on the 16th of the prior month, but the due date is on the 10th, okay? So there's a little lag, okay, from when the account closes, okay, to when you have to make the payment, okay? All right, to briefly touch on that. All right, now, the monthly payments charge, let's assume we're doing this transaction on the 4th of the month, okay? So if we're doing a transaction on the 4th of the month, which means we're doing a transaction after the statement closing date for the ELOC. So after the statement closing date, so on the 4th of current month for this one. After the statement closing date, but before the due date, because 4 is before 10, okay? So this one was the 4th of January, let's assume we were doing it. Okay, this one's 10th of January. Okay? So after the statement date, but before the due date, that's when we're doing the transaction on the 4th, which means the monthly payments charge, America, going to stay the same. Okay, so for that reason, the monthly payments charged on Regions ELA are gonna stay $50. Okay, and again, folks, even though we're having a transaction inside the account, okay, you went from $50, $53 to $20,053. Okay, the monthly payment charge is gonna stay the same. Why? Because we're doing all the transaction after the statement date, but before the due date. Okay, monthly payment charge is not gonna change. It's gonna stay the same, America. Okay. All right. Availability is credit limit minus balance owed. So 20,500 minus 20,053. So availability is 447. Okay. Credit utilization is balance owed divided by credit limit. So 20,053 divided by 20,500. So we are at 97.82%. And payment rate charge, America, is monthly payments charge divided by balance owed. So 50 divided by 20,053 bucks. So we are at 0.25%. Okay. SharePoint mortgage. $190,000. APR, the true APR, 3%. Now balance owed. America, remember, we're relocating 20,000 from the mortgage and dumped it, onto the Regions ELOC. So for that reason, the mortgage is going to get decreased by 20,000. So 100 minus 20 is 80,000. Okay. Monthly payments charged. America, SharePoint mortgage is an installment credit account. Okay. And for an installment credit account, the monthly payments charge typically does not change until you completely wipe out that account. Okay, there's still a balance, okay, on SharePoint mortgage. So for that reason, the monthly payments charge will stay the same, $1,601.05. Okay. Availability is the mortgage is an installment credit account, so availability doesn't matter. The credit utilization, for credit report purposes, the credit utilization on the mortgage, as far as credit utilization, that one does not matter. I mean, we could put it on the board, but. And payment rate charge is monthly payments charged divided by balance owed. So $1,601.05 divided by 80,000. So we are at 2%. Okay. All right, America. All we've done is just relocating 20,000 from the regions and dump it into the 20,000 from the mortgage and dump it onto the regions. So the total between those two is still $100,053. 20 plus 80, that's $100,053. Okay. Nothing's changed. We just relocate. Okay. Balance from one place to another. Okay. All right. America, that was one transfer. Okay. Now, can we repeat the transfer? All right. Well, let's take a look. And again, America, remember, we're treating the SharePoint mortgage as if the interest rate is 99% or the interest rate is considerably higher than any other interest rate that we have on the board. Okay. We still have balance on a higher APR account. Okay. So now that we're done with Regions ELOC, the next lowest APR account is Wells Fargo. But when we take a look at Wells Fargo, credit limit $6,300, monthly payments charged $4, balance owed $4, availability $6,296. We have Room America on a lower APR account, Wells Fargo 18%. And again, we're treating a mortgage as if the interest rate is considerably higher. Okay? So, America, whenever we see availability from a lower APR account, 6,296 is available, and we have balance from a higher APR account, okay? Because that's how we're treating it, the mortgage. We're always trying to relocate some of these balance and trying to dump it onto the lower APR account. Okay? But James, on your example, you told us that Wells Fargo is not offering any balance transfer promotion. So how then are you going to be able to relocate balances from a higher APR account and trying to dump it into the lower APR account? How will you be able to do a transfer when you already told us that Wells Fargo is not offering any balance transfer promotions? America, remember, on our method, Ambroise Method, we are not handicapped or limited by what the big bank, the big creditors could do for us. Even though Wells Fargo is not offering any balance transfer promotions, we could still execute balance transfers without the help of Wells Fargo. Okay? And the way we're going to do it, we're going to employ one of our artificial type of balance transfers. Remember, on our method, America, we have at least 7 different ways on how we execute balance transfers. Okay? We have what we call a normal balance transfer. We have what we call a mix and match balance transfer. Then we have some artificial type of balance transfer, plastic, Melio, similar entities. Okay. Then we have the 2 superstars, Ambroise's, charge, pay, technique. One of them, we refer to it as normal. Then we have Ambroise's, charge, pay, technique. The second one, we refer to it as inducement. And again, folks, 7 different ways on how we execute balance transfers. Okay? Normal 1, mix and match 2, plastic 3, Melio 4, similar entities, that's like a catch-all because plastic and Melio have competitions, okay? And the competition, the list of competitors are growing, so I cannot list them all, so I refer to them as similar entities. So entities that are similar to plastic, similar to Melio, okay? So similar entities, that's like a catch-all, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then the 2 superstars, Ambroise's charge pay technique, 6, Ambroise's charge pay technique inducement, 7, okay? So at least, America, 7 different ways on how we execute balance transfers. So going back to Wells Fargo again, Wells Fargo is not offering any balance transfer promotions, but we could still execute balance transfers by employing one of our artificial type of balance transfers. And today we're going to be employing Ambroise's charge pay technique normal. Okay. All right, America. And for those of you who missed that lesson, Ambroise's charge pay technique normal. Let me erase that so I could have some room on the board. So Ambroise's charge pay technique normal is a technique where you charge the lower APR account. Okay. Remember, we're treating the mortgage as if the interest rate is 99%, so the lower APR account between Wells Fargo and the mortgage, the lower one is 18%. So charge the lower, which is Wells Fargo, and we pay the higher, and the higher is the mortgage because we're treating the mortgage as if the interest rate again is considerably higher than every other interest rate that we have on the board. Why? Because today we're doing event priority. So SharePoint mortgage. Okay. With available cash on hand. So, and again folks, Ambroise's charge pay technique is a detailed process where we charge the lower APR account, Wells Fargo 18%, then we pay the higher APR account, SharePoint mortgage, since we're treating it as being 99% with available cash on hand. Okay? America, under a traditional way of paying up debt, you're gonna use your checking account. In that checking account, you're going to use it to pay the bills, the expenses. Okay? In this case, we're taking a look at the bills that could go on a credit card, $3,000. So you use the checking account to pay these bills. And the total, $3,000. Okay? But when you are employing America, Ambroise's charge pay technique, instead of using your checking account to pay the bills and expenses, this time you're going to use the lower APR account. In this case, we say it's Wells Fargo, because that's how we're treating it. So it's going to be, so Wells Fargo now going to pay the bills, the expenses. Okay. So now, remember, married couple, they have cash flow, which means they made enough money to at least cover all the bills, their expenses, okay? Because there's cash flow, $2,700, okay? So instead of using the checking account to pay the bills, the expenses, you're gonna use the lower APR account to pay the bills, the expenses. Now, the funds that would normally be earmarked for the bills, the expenses, now the funds is free for you, America, to send wherever you want to send it to. Because remember, the checking account was supposed to take care of them. Now, Wells Fargo took care of them, of those bills, those expenses. So now the fund is free to send wherever you want. So in that case, America, you're going to send the funds from the checking account to the higher APR account. Okay, so it's going to be checking account. Now I'm gonna pay the higher APR account, and the higher APR account was SharePoint Mortgage. And how much you're gonna send to it? $3,000 bucks. Okay. So for that reason, Wells Fargo gonna get increased by $3,000 bucks. And SharePoint Mortgage, once you send the payment from the checking account to the mortgage, SharePoint Mortgage is gonna get decreased by $3,000 bucks. All right, America. This Ambroise charge pay technique, America, we refer to it as the superstar. And each time, America, that you are able to use Ambroise's charge pay technique, you are disrupting a billion-dollar industry. Because remember, big bank, big creditors make billions in balance transfers and other fees. Because now you don't need big bank, big creditors to execute balance transfers. When you are able to employ Ambroise's charge pay technique. And again, we have two variations of this. This time is the normal one, to where it's going to cost you 0% in balance transfer fees. So the bank, most banks, they charge anywhere between, well, I guess you could negotiate to where they could bring it down to 1%, but so they charge anywhere between 1% to 5%. Okay? If you are able to negotiate. Okay? But if you're not able to negotiate, more than likely it might be anywhere between 3 to 5. Okay? With Ambroise's charge pay technique, 0% in balance transfers fees. America, when I devised this technique, you could see why the banks are not happy at all. Because this technique is disrupting a billion-dollar industry. All right, America, so now let's run some numbers. Remember, we're going to charge Wells Fargo with bills that could go on a credit card, and we said these bills could go on a credit card, and Wells Fargo is a credit card, and the total was $3,000 bucks. So we're gonna charge Wells Fargo at some point with $3,000 bucks. So we're gonna put all these bills on Wells Fargo. Okay. But right now on paper, we're gonna do it right now on paper so we could know our numbers. Okay. So for that reason, capital one will stay the same. $15,800. 29%. Again, we're not touching capital one. $15,150. 51709. 650. Again, we're not touching capital one. Credit utilization 9589. 3.41. Wells Fargo, we did say we're going to charge Wells Fargo on paper. $6,300, 18%. Okay. Wells Fargo, the balance is $4,000. We're going to put all these expense bills on Wells Fargo. And the total again, $3,000 bucks. So $3,000 plus $4, so now we're at $3,000. $4. Okay. Monthly payments charged. The statement date, America, on Wells Fargo was on the 3rd of current month, and we're doing all these transactions on the 4th. Okay. And again, Wells Fargo, the statement closing date was on the 3rd. We're doing the transactions on the 4th. And the due date on Wells Fargo is the 28th. Okay. America, whenever we're doing the transaction after the statement date, the 4th is after the 3rd. So after the statement date, but before the due date. Even though we're doing transactions inside the account, the monthly payments charge will stay the same. So in this case, monthly payments charge will stay $4. Okay? Why? Again, we're doing a transaction after the statement date, but before the due date. So anywhere in between, the monthly payment charge is going to stay the same. Okay? All right. Availability is credit limit minus balance owed. So $6,300 minus $3,004. So we have at $3,296. Credit utilization is balance owed divided by credit limit. So $3,004 divided by 6,300. So we are at 47%. And payment rate charged is monthly payments charged divided by balance owed. So 4 divided by $3,004. 0.13%. Okay. All right, America. Next is Regions ELOC. I need some room. Regions ELOC, so 20,500, 12%, 20,053, $50, 447, 97.82, 0.25%. Okay. SharePoint mortgage. $190, 3%, $80,000. Now, we're doing a transaction on the 4th. The paycheck, remember, he gets paid on the husband gets paid on the 7th. Okay, so the paycheck hasn't come in yet. Okay, so for that reason, SharePoint mortgage is gonna stay the same for now. Okay, $1,601.05. Not applicable. Not applicable. 2%. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 17, 4, 50, 60. Okay. All right, America. I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look at what's on the board, and then we're going to continue with the exercise. All right, America. Going back to the steps, segregate, compare, transfer. We've done one transfer earlier by relocating funds from the mortgage to the regions. And now we start doing one leg of Ambroise's charge pay technique. We took care of the charge part. And as the paychecks start coming in, we're going to take care of the pay part. Okay? So, now let's take a look. We still have balance on SharePoint mortgage. Okay? So we're done with regions. We're done with Wells Fargo. The next lowest APR account, since we're treating a mortgage as if the interest rate is 99%, the next lowest one is Capital One. But when we take a look at Capital One, balance owed is credit limit $15,800, balance owed $15,150. Availability is only $650. Credit utilization 95%. So we're already in the 90s, so we have to be a little careful. Okay? All right? So for that reason, America, we cannot do any more transfer. We cannot repeat the transfer. Okay? So all the transfers have been completely exhausted. Okay? Now we could go below the line. Okay? Below the line, the next step is cash flow or large payment. Okay? Let's take care of large payment first. Married couple during this period did not receive any bonus check. Married couple during this period did not receive any income tax refund. Married couple during this period did not receive any additional funds or money that would constitute or represent a large payment. So we do not have any large payment. So now we're going to be dealing with cash flow. Okay? So now, America, let's figure out how much our new cash flow is. Remember, the original cash flow was $2,700. Okay? And the way we determine our cash flow, we take a look at the monthly payments charged, the original monthly payments charged, minus the new monthly payments charged, okay? To see if we have any increase or decrease. Okay. The original monthly payments charge on Capital One, $517.09. $517.09 stays $517.09. Wells Fargo, $4, stay $4. Regions ELOC, $50, stays $50. SharePoint Mortgage, $1,601.05 stays $1,601.05. Okay? Why? Because we're doing all these transactions after the statement closing date, but before the due date. That's why the monthly payment charge did not change. Okay? So everything stays the same. Okay? SharePoint is an installment credit account, so that one stays the same. All right? So as far as cash flow, we have no increase, no decrease. Okay? Which means now our new cash flow gonna be the same, 2,700, because 2,700 plus the difference, we have no difference, so we're still at 2,700. Okay? All right, America? All right, so going back to our steps, so now we're done with cash flow, we're done with large payment. Okay. So now let's answer the rest of the questions. W, which account or accounts to use? Okay. America, on our method, Ambroise Method, we have two different type of users. We have what we call a normal user. Put it over here. And we have what we call an advanced user. Ambroise Method, America has two different type of users. Okay? A normal user takes advantage of transfer. A normal user takes advantage of cash flow. For an advanced user takes advantage of transfer. Takes advantage of the alternative account. Takes advantage of cash flow. Okay. So, America, if you fall under a normal user category, obviously a normal user takes advantage of transfer, takes advantage of cash flow. So after you've done all the transfers, earlier we relocate 20,000 from the mortgage, dump it into the ELOC. Then later on, we employ one of our artificial type of balance transfers. Wells Fargo, okay, got increased by 3,000 bucks. Okay, so after all these transfers, okay, you're gonna take advantage of cash flow. A normal user utilize their checking account to pay off debt. Okay, so the way it's gonna work for a normal user, because normal user use their checking account. Every bills, every expense is going to receive just bare minimum payment or whatever the minimum payment is, okay? All right. Any excess leftover going to go to the account that has the higher APR or the account that we treat as having the higher APR. In this case, remember, since we're doing event priority on the mortgage, so we're treating the mortgage as if he has the higher APR, okay? So, every account will receive bare minimum payment, and the mortgage will receive all the excess. The excess will be $2,700 in cash flow plus the additional $3,000. Okay, so altogether it would be $2,700 plus $3,000. Okay, plus whatever minimum payment on the SharePoint mortgage itself. Okay, which was $1,601.05. America, and again, after all the transfers, okay, any excess, every other account gonna receive minimum payment. Any excess gonna go to that account, SharePoint mortgage. The excess gonna be the cash flow, which is $2,700. Since earlier we're employing Ambroise's charge pay technique, where we have to pay the mortgage 3,000 bucks, so that's an additional 3,000 plus the minimum payment itself that will go to the mortgage, which was $1,601.05. So all of these will go to the mortgage. Okay, that's if you were a normal user. Okay, but now, America, we're doing a scenario for an advanced user. And for an advanced user, America, we're always trying to identify three main accounts. Okay, and the first one is first in line account, or the account for greater results. And since today we are doing event priority on the mortgage, so event priority. Because we want that account to be first in line. So we want that account to have priority or precedence over every other account. So the mortgage has priority or precedence over every other account. So next, which figure out for an advanced user, is to figure out next in line account, or the account for greater liquidity. And finally, America, we try to identify the alternative account. for movements of income and movement of expenses. Okay? And again, folks, for an advanced user, we're always trying to identify these three main accounts. Okay? All right, Marco, now let's figure out our accounts. Our first in-line account, or the account for greater results, or the account for event priority, is generally the account that has the higher APR. Remember, we're treating the mortgage as if he has the higher APR. Okay? So this will be the mortgage. Okay? That's the event priority account. Remember, wife got spooked. She wants to attack the mortgage instead of any other account. So the mortgage has priority or precedence over any other account. Okay? The next in-line account, or the account for greater liquidity. All right, well, let's take a look. We have Capital One credit card. That's a credit card. Capital One will offer liquidity. We have Wells Fargo credit card. That's another credit card. Wells Fargo will offer liquidity. And we have Regions ELOC. And the Regions is in a draw period for our purpose. That's also, that will offer liquidity. But the Capital One is limited. Okay? On our example, we say only $3,000 could go on a credit card when the expenses were a lot higher. The expenses were $5,522. Okay? So only $3,000 could go on a credit card. Capital One was limited. Wells Fargo credit card, again, it's a credit card, only $3,000 could go on a credit card, so Wells Fargo was limited. Regions ELOC, there's no limit. Okay, you could put the entire expense on the Regions ELOC if you so choose. Okay, so for that reason, Regions ELOC will offer us greater liquidity. Capital One offer liquidity, Wells Fargo offer liquidity, Regions ELOC offer liquidity, but Regions ELOC offer greater liquidity because we're looking for the account for greater liquidity. Okay, so that will be Regions ELOC. And the third and final account we normally look for an advanced user is the alternative account for movements of income and movement of expenses. Okay? All right, let's take a look of our list again. SharePoint Mortgage is a mortgage, so SharePoint Mortgage is not an alternative account. So SharePoint Mortgage got disqualified. So now we have three accounts to choose from. Capital One, you could have movements of income and movement of expenses in the Capital One. Wells Fargo, you could have movements of income and movement of expenses in the Wells Fargo. Regions ELOC, you could have movements of income and movement of expenses in the Regions ELOC. So again, America, we have three accounts to choose from. Okay, well, which one is it going to be? For this alternative account for movement of income and movement of expenses, America, we generally look for the account that has the higher APR. And between those three, Capital One, Wells Fargo, and Regions, there goes the APR, 29%, 18%, and 12%. The higher APR one is 29%, and 29% belongs to Capital One. So for alternative account for movement of income and movement of expenses, it will be Capital One, because Capital One has the higher APR. Okay, America? For an advanced user, now we identify our three main accounts for an advanced user. Okay? So now let's figure out our numbers. Okay? So which account we know we're going to be dealing, if you're a normal user, you're going to be dealing with just your checking account, if you're a normal user. But for an advanced user, we have these 3 accounts. So normal user, just the checking account to pay off these bills, these expenses. An advanced user, 3 accounts in this particular example. Okay? SharePoint mortgage, first in line, greater results, event priority. Regions ELOC, next in line, offer greater liquidity. And Capital One, alternative account for movements of income and movement of expenses because he has the higher APR between the alternative accounts. Okay? So which account? SharePoint mortgage, Regions ELOC, and Capital One. Next step, America, is to figure out how much of a payment to send to these accounts. Okay? So that's the H. All right, so now let's figure out our numbers. SharePoint mortgage, we have the regular payment of minimum payment. Then we have bills that could go on a credit card. And since today we're employing Ambroise's charge pay technique normal, so bills that could go on a credit card / pay. Because earlier we charged, so now we're gonna pay as the income start coming in. Then we have other remainder bills that could not go on a credit card or other remainder bills in general. Then we have cash flow. Then we might have absorption or absorption opportunity. Okay, and this will be our total. Okay. SharePoint, the regular payment on SharePoint is $1,601.05. Okay. Regions ELOC, the regular payment on Regions ELOC is $50. And Capital One, the regular payment on Capital One, minimum payment is $517.09. Okay. Bills that could go on a credit card / pay, because remember again, earlier we employed Ambroise's charge pay technique where we charge Wells Fargo $3,000. So we could pay the mortgage, could send a payment to the mortgage, $3,000. Okay. So bills that could go on a credit card / pay portion, gonna be the mortgage, $3,000. Okay. Other remainder bills or other bills in general. So let's skip over that one from now. Cash flow. America, remember, cash flow is generally better served in the account that has the higher APR. Remember, during our account selection process, we're treating the mortgage as if he has the higher APR. Why? Because we're doing event priority on the mortgage. The mortgage has priority over every other account. Okay? So cash flow will go to the mortgage because we're treating the mortgage again as if the interest rate is 99%. Okay? So cash flow go to the mortgage, $2,700. Okay. Absorption. Let's skip absorption for now. Let's go back to other remainder bills. Okay. Remember, single dad is the only one that has a traditional job, a 9-to-5 job. Wife is a stay-at-home mom, and his income from his traditional 9-to-5 job is $8,224.14. So he'll be $8,222.14 minus all these amounts. Okay, so we have his total income, $8,222.14 minus all these amounts, minus $1,601.05 minus $3,000. Minus 2,700 minus 50 bucks minus 517.009. All the remainder bills that could not go on a credit card or all the remainder bills in general, the account, America, that offer greater liquidity will take care of those. And earlier we identified that Regions ELOC offer greater liquidity. Okay? So for all the remainder bills, the total is 354. The account that offers greater liquidity will take care of that one. So Regions will take care of this one. Okay? All right, America? Which is the daughter's allowance, 100 bucks. That's that Regions ELOC. The prepaid college, 100 bucks, because that one could not go on a credit card. So that's Regions ELOC. We'll take care of that one. Life insurance, 150 bucks. I mean 150, so Regions ELOC will take care of that. And Wells Fargo, $4. 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Let's run it real quick. 100 plus another 100 plus 150 plus $4. So that's how we arrive at that 354. Okay. For all the remainder bills that could not go on a credit card, all the remainder bills in general. Okay. All right. Now, America, when we take a look at the Regions ELOC, we have two payments going to the Regions ELOC. 50 bucks, which is the minimum payment on the Regions. Okay. And $354, which will cover the remainder bills. Daughter's allowance, the allowance, prepaid college, tuition, life insurance, and Wells Fargo, which we might have to make an adjustment later on. Might have to, but it's only $4. That's a de minimis amount. So, you know, we may not do anything with it because the amount's so small. Because remember, Wells Fargo is at 18%. And Regions ELOC is only at 12%. So the adjustment we will make, instead of sending that $4 to Regions ELOC because it's at a lower APR account. So from the checking account, we'll keep it inside the checking account and send it instead to Wells Fargo. But because it's a de minimis amount, the amount is so small, okay, we may not even worry about it. It's only $4. Let's see what's the difference between those two. 18 and 12 is only 6%, $4 times 6% divided by 12 for the month. That's about 2 cents. Okay, now we're not gonna lose our minds over 2 cents because again the difference, 18 minus 12 is only 6. 6% times $4 divided by 12 if we're using a simplified formula. That's only 2 cents difference, so we're not even going to worry about it. The amount's so small, this is the minimus amount. You know, we're not going to lose sleep over it. It's only $4. All right, America. Now going back to our Regions ELOC again. Regions ELOC, $50. Monthly payments charged on the Regions, and $354. That takes care of these bills, these expenses. Okay. We have two amount, America, going to the Regions ELOC. We do not want to send too much payment to an account that is at 12% when we have another account that we're treating as if it was 99%. Okay? So for that reason, the mortgage will absorb one of these two amounts. Okay? But which one will he absorb? Well, $354 gonna cover these bills. Okay? And $50 is the monthly payment charge on the Regions ELOC. So it looks like we're going to absorb the smaller amount, $50. So let's take a look at the Regions to see if we are close to the limit. Well, availability $447. So if I do 20,053 plus 50 at 12% real quick, to give me a rough idea, if I could absorb the entire $50 times 12%. 201, we have more than 200 and some change, even if we're using average daily balance with compounding including new transaction. Let's say it's 2 something, more than 201, well, we have 447 left. So we could absorb the entire amount, okay? $50, all right? So this $50 will get relocated from the Regions. We're gonna dump it, we're gonna send it to the mortgage. And again, we're doing even priority on the mortgage, okay? Any excess, we're gonna try to send it to the account that we're doing even priority on, okay? So that $50 will be gone, all right? Which means if we have a full absorption, because remember, America, from past lesson, we have three different type of absorption. For lack of better terms, we have full absorption, a partial absorption, and no absorption, okay? Whenever, America, you are able to do a full absorption after you did a transfer, that means your transfer amount was too small, okay? That is one way that I know that the transfer amount was too small, okay? Because even after the transfer, remember the ELOC went from $53 to $20,053, and I'm still able to do a full absorption, okay? So that means my transfer amount was too small, okay? Because after a transfer, I should only be able to do a partial absorption in this particular instance, okay? But remember, the only reason why we go 20,000 earlier, because later on we're going to be comparing with Velocity Banking Group. That way these folks don't say, well, James, the reason why your number again was slightly better was because you went higher on the credit limit, okay? So that's why we only went 20 grand, okay? But we could have gone again a little higher than 20 grand, all right? Now, between those two, we absorbed the smaller amount, and it was a full absorption because we absorbed the entire amount, okay? $50, okay? And can we do anything with Capital One? Well, Capital One, $517.09. Capital One only have one single payment going to the Capital One, and that is the minimum payment, okay? We have to at least pay our minimum payment. So we cannot break the Capital One down any further because we had one single payment total going to the Capital One. The reason why we were able to play with Regions ELOC because we had multiple payments going to the Regions ELOC. 50, 354. So multiple payments. That's why we're able to play with this one. Okay? So we're going to leave Capital One alone. All right? Okay, America. So now let's figure out our numbers. Okay? Our total. 160105 plus $3,000 plus 2,700 plus $50. So the total for going to the mortgage will be $7,354. $351.05. So the total for the Regions ELOC, well, $50 is gone. So $354. And the total for Capital One, $500. $17.09. Okay, America? Again, going back to our step, which account? We know we have these three accounts. How much of a payment to send to these accounts? Well, SharePoint Mortgage, we're going to send $7,351.05 to the mortgage. Regions ELOC, we're going to send $354, and Capital One, $517.09. Okay? The last and final steps, America, is the T, to pay down or off which debt. Okay? That will be our workflow. This is our workflow. Workflow. Okay. Remember, married couple, the wife is a stay-at-home mom. Husband is the only one with a traditional 9-to-5 job. Okay. And he gets paid on the 7th, he gets paid on the 21st. So let's take off the first paycheck first. First paycheck gonna come on the 7th, and that paycheck gonna cover anything between the 7th all the way to the 20th, 20. And the next paycheck gonna come on the 21st, on the 21. This one's gonna cover anything between the 21 all the way to the end of the month. Okay. So we have the three accounts: SharePoint Mortgage, we have Regions ELOC, because again we're dealing with these three accounts. And we have Regions ELOC, and we have Capital One. Let's take off the first paycheck first. The first paycheck covers anything between the 7th all the way to the 20th. Okay. America, let's take a look at the due date real quick. This couple been watching some of my videos, and they understood that changing the due date doesn't cure everything, but it helps quite a bit. So for that reason, they were able to change all this due date, and they put them towards the end of the month. Look at the electricity, due on the 28th. So whatever the date was in the past, they called the electricity company and changed the due date to the 20th. Water, 28th, so they changed that one. YouTube TV, they've changed that one to the 28th. Netflix, they changed that one to the 28th. Cell phone, they changed that one to the 28th. Groceries doesn't have a due date. Fuel for the vehicle, they have to put fuel once a week in the vehicle. Restaurant, in order to give the alternative account a boost, they'll decide to go to the restaurant towards the end of the month. Beauty and skincare, she's gonna shop for beauty and skincare towards the end of the month. Clothes and shoes, They're gonna shop, the family will shop for clothes and shoes towards the end of the month in order to give the alternative account a boost. Car insurance, they changed the car insurance, but for the car insurance, they were not able to get a 28 due date. They were able to only get a 26 due date. That's still good because 26 is towards the end of the month. The other allowance on the 26th, prepaid college was due on the 12th. This prepaid college, they were not able to change the due date. So that is why it's on the 12th. Life insurance, they didn't want to touch the life insurance, so they kept it at for the 23rd. Capital One, they were able to change Capital One for the 27th. Wells Fargo, they were able to change the due date on the Wells Fargo credit card for the 28th. Regents ELOC, they were not able to change the due date. Because for some of these ELOCs, not all of them, because we have some hybrid type ELOCs to where you could change the due date, but for a traditional type ELOC, for lack of better terms, after the inception, you cannot change the due date. So that's why they were stuck with this Regents ELOC on the 10th. In SharePoint Mortgage, the mortgages are typically due on the 1st, and you might have some grace period for late payment, not grace period for interest, but grace period for late payment. Some lenders will give you 15 days, 16 days. I've seen some of them that give as much as 16 on a mortgage as far as the grace period for late payment. Remember, we have two different types of grace period. And I'll probably cover all that in a separate lesson. We have a grace period for interest, which is when we're typically talking about credit cards. Then we have grace period for late payment. So grace period for interest and grace period for late payment. This mortgage, the grace period for late payment was 15 more days. So they could pay the mortgage anywhere between the 1st all the way to the 16th and still be okay. They're not going to incur any late payment on the mortgage. Okay? So they did pretty good. As far as the prep work, they've changed all the due dates towards the end of the month, except the ones that they could not change or the one that did not want to touch, like the life insurance, they didn't want to touch it. So it stays for the 23rd of the month, okay? Which was beautiful, okay? And again, folks, whenever you can, try to change the due date towards the end of the month. That change doesn't cure anything, but it helps, okay? Because now you have everything in front of you, okay? Look at this statement closing date. Was due on the 2nd. On the 2nd, you're going to know exactly what your minimum payment is going to be, okay? This one was due on the 3rd, okay? Why? Because the due date is on the 28th. And most of those credit cards, they'll give you about 25 days. They don't have to give you 25 days, okay? Some of them have to give you only 21 days. And different type of credit cards, like I mentioned earlier, doesn't even have to give you 21 days, okay? But most of them, by law, 21 days and up, okay? And these credit card company, most of them, they typically give you 25 days, but it doesn't have to be 25 days, okay? So by changing the due date all the way to the 28th, okay, you put everything in front of you. You know exactly what your minimum payment is gonna be for the month. And you found out about that information early on. Look at this one. On the 2nd, they found out it was going to be $517.09. That's beginning of the month. This one on the 3rd, the statement closing date, they found out it was going to be $4. Look at this one. On the 16th, but that was for the prior month, they found out that it's going to be it's going to be $50. Okay? So changing the due date, America, is very important. It makes your job a little easier. That way you don't have to compute what the interest is going to be for that given cycle, okay? Because the cycle closes early enough to where you have all your information. So that's going to facilitate your preparation on how you're going to attack these accounts. Okay? All right. Now, going back to our first paycheck for married couple. First paycheck comes on the 7th. And his total income, $8,222.14. Let's assume that the two paychecks were equal. So 822214 divided by 2. So he's going to receive $4,111.07 on the first paycheck and $4,111.07 on the second paycheck. Okay, so now let's take up the first paycheck first. This is when in America you have to pay attention to the due date, especially for bills, expenses that you need cash or cash equivalent for. Okay. Electricity due on the 28th, and again that's after the 7th, after the 28th to 0. So we don't have to worry about the electricity on the first paycheck, because electricity is way after the first paycheck. Water 28, cell phone 28, all these are after the 7th, after the 20th. Okay, don't have to worry about those on the for the first paycheck. Groceries, no due date for groceries, but married couple gonna shop for groceries towards the end of the month. Fuel, they have no choice, they have to put fuel on the vehicle at least once a week, and the fuel gonna go on the Wells Fargo. Well, let's take a look at the Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo credit card has availability, $3,296. So there's enough availability to cover the fuel. Fuel was only $600. Okay. So that one's not gonna create any problem. Restaurant, they're gonna wait towards the end of the month, $298. And again, there's enough availability to cover all of that. Okay. Actually, the availability was this one prior to the charges. Clothes and shoes, car insurance, all these, Wells Fargo gonna take care of all of those. Okay. And do not pay them any earlier. Wait on the due date to send the payment to these accounts. Don't charge the credit card any earlier, America. Wait on the due date, okay? Because remember, most of these credit cards use an average daily balance with compounding, including new transactions. So you do not want to jack up, okay, the balance on that credit card. So wait on the due date before you charge the credit card, okay? The daughter allowance is due on the 26th, okay? That one could not go on a credit card, okay? Because they have to give the daughter cash, or they have to Zelle this $100 to the daughter, okay? And he's due on the 26th, okay? And again, 26 is after the 7th, after the 20th, okay? So all these not gonna create any problem. This prepaid college is due on the 12th. Now that one's gonna create a little problem because 12th is between the 7th, is between the 20th. So we have to take care of this prepaid college on the first paycheck. And again, it's due on the 12th. Okay? 12th is between 7th and 20th. Okay? So now we have to reserve at least $100 in the regions, which is the account that offer greater liquidity to take up this prepaid college. Okay, so $100 because prepaid college was $100. Okay, life insurance due on the 23rd. Again, that's after the 7th, after the 20th. So that's not going to create any problem for us on the first paycheck. Capital One 27th, and again after the 7th, after the 20th. Wells Fargo on the 28th, and again after the 1st, after the 20th. Regions on the 10th. But remember, we observed that $50. We sent it to the event priority account, which was the mortgage. Okay? So this one got absorbed, so we don't have to worry about that one. This one got absorbed by the mortgage. Okay. SharePoint mortgage, again, SharePoint mortgage is going to take care of everything. 160105, 160105 plus everything else, because that account is the even priority account that we're dealing with today. Okay. So Capital One gonna take care of its own. So Capital One, Wells Fargo. The account that offer greater liquidity is Regions. So Regions gonna take care of this one. Okay. Remember earlier, Regions is at 12%, Wells Fargo is at 18%, but because the payment is only $4, it's a de minimis amount, it's a small amount, so we're not gonna worry about it. We're not gonna make any adjustment. We could, but it's only $4. Okay. And SharePoint mortgage, SharePoint will take care of everything of its own, so SharePoint. Okay. So, which means now, the only account that we had to worry about, the only amount we had to worry about was this $100 for the prepaid college. Okay. But the total paycheck was $4,111.07, which means now that the account that offered the first in line account, or the even priority account, which is the mortgage, gonna take care of the remainder. So $4,111.07 minus $100. So now we have $4,011.07. Okay. Capital One is due on the 27th. So Capital One on the first paycheck not gonna receive anything. Okay. That was the first paycheck I'm recording. And again, gotta pay attention to the due date. Okay. So you could properly allocate these payments. Okay. Now on the next paycheck, remember the Regions ELOC needs to have total 354. You only receive $100, so 354 minus $100. So Regions ELOC will receive 254. Okay. Capital One needs to have total 517.09. Capital One did not receive anything on the first paycheck, so now Capital One will receive the remainder, the difference, 517.09. Okay. And SharePoint mortgage needs to have total 7,351.05, but SharePoint only received 4,011 on the first paycheck, so it will be 7,351.05 minus 4,011.07. SharePoint will receive $3,339.98. Okay. Let me run my number one more time, making sure I did not make any mistake. Sure enough, 7,351.05. All right, America. That was the workflow. Again, folks, gotta know which account gonna take care of which bills, which expenses. Wells Fargo gonna take care of all of these. Remember earlier when we charged the lower APR account, when we were employing Ambroise's charge pay technique, okay? The other allowance, okay, these are cash or cash equivalent, so the account that offer greater liquidity, we will take care of that, okay? Prepaid college, Again, the servicer want cash or check, so the account that offer greater liquidity, which is Regions ELOC, will take care of that. Life insurance, cash or check. You cannot pay life insurance with a credit card, at least not instantly. So the account that offer greater liquidity will take care of that, Regions ELOC. Okay. Capital One will receive its own minimum payment, $517.09. Wells Fargo, okay. We're supposed to reserve that $4 in the checking account and send it directly to Wells Fargo. So on the first paycheck, but because it's a de minimis amount, we don't worry too much about it. It's only $4. Okay. We're not gonna make a big deal about $4. Okay. Regions ELOC, that $50. Remember, Region's gonna receive $100 in the first paycheck. That $100 is larger or bigger than $50. So that $100 will satisfy this $50 because Region is due on the 10th. Remember, on the 7th, you're sending $100. So $100 is bigger than $50. So $100 will cover that $50. Okay. And later on, remember it's 100, but we did observe it. Okay. Just so you guys fully understand what's going on, we say that Region's gonna take care of these bills plus the Wells Fargo. Total is $354. Okay, not $404. Okay, because the mortgage is gonna absorb that $50. Okay. Remember how this alternative account works. If you send $100 to an account, that takes care of the minimum payment. Okay. And that same $100 you're gonna take care of these other items. Remember, on the second paycheck, you're gonna have an additional $254, so that's $354 total. Okay. When the other items coming up due, that same account gonna take care of the other items. So it is similar to Ambroise's wash technique. And remember from past lessons, America, Ambroise's wash technique is a technique whereby the same dollar amount of income that comes into the alternative account, or $354 gonna come into the alternative account, is the same dollar amount of expenses that goes out of the alternative account. So $354 comes in, $354 goes out. Okay? This is Ambroise's wash technique. Same amount of income comes in, same amount of expenses goes out. $354 comes in, $354 goes out. This is good stuff, America. Spirit of Father, thank you. All right, America, I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look at what's on the board, and then we're going to continue with the exercise. All right, America, and today on this lesson, we are covering event priority. Event priority, folks, is an event that takes priority or precedence over everything else. Remember, a wife wanted to attack the mortgage. Okay. Husband wanted to do something different, but because she got spooked, her neighbor just lost her house via foreclosure. And not only that, they have this false placed insurance on the property, which create a problem because they don't have too much control, because in the state where they are from, it is hard to get property insurance because the pool of insurance companies are so small. Okay? And because of the age of the property and all the work that needs to be done, you know, she couldn't get property insurance. So the lender had a forced placed insurance on the property, or lender placed insurance, for lack of better terms. Okay. So all these reasons, America, were valid reasons why you might want to attack the mortgage, even though the mortgage is at 3%, as opposed to attack these other accounts, like the Capital One, 29%. Okay. All right. Now earlier, on the chunk payment, I've only gone 20,000 on the chunk payment. Well, if you belong to the other group, if you belong to Velocity Banking Group, okay? Because I wanted to compare my method with their method, okay? Because remember, these folks, okay, there is a factions of Velocity Banking Group that likes to brag about how they could get rid of a mortgage inside a few years. 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. Okay. All right. So let's compare our method with this inferior debt repayment method called Velocity Banking Group, or Velocity Banking. For them, America, it would have been a chunk payment of 20 grand. Then they would reduce SharePoint mortgage from 100,000 to 80,000. So SharePoint mortgage got reduced from 100,000 to 80,000. And then remember, they also have 160105 going to the SharePoint mortgage, which is the minimum payment. But remember that 80105 is comprised of both principal and interest. Well, let's find out real quick how much the interest portion was, or the principal portion was. And again, America, it was 190 at 3%. And for principal and interest portion, it was 80105. But let's run it one more time. Let me go to a calculator online. 190, 30 years, 3%, 80105. Okay? 80105. Remember 160105, because we have that escrow account for taxes and insurance, $800. So the principal and interest portion was only let me put it right here, was only 80105. Again, the original loan amount 190 at 3%, so 80105 for principal and interest. Let's figure out our interest portion. The interest portion is, remember, the balance prior to the chunk payment, but let's include the chunk payment. So the balance would have been 80,000 times, remember, SharePoint mortgage is charging 3%, the actual interest rate. So times 3% divided by 12. The interest portions on the ending balance. The ending balance again was 80,000. So the 80,000 ending balance times 3% divided by 12. So we are at $200. Okay, that's the interest portion, or the interest cost. Okay, which means now that the principal portion is, it's at 60105, but let's run it. 60105. Okay. So this 80,000 gonna get reduced by the chunk payment 20,000. So we're down to this 100,000 gonna get reduced by 20. So we're down to 80, and that 80 gonna get reduced by just the principal amount or the principal portion, which is 60105. Okay. So it's 80,000 minus 60105. So at the end of it all, for Velocity Banking Group, okay, after they make the chunk, and to improve the numbers, we also showed that the interest rate was only on 80,000 as opposed to 100,000, just to improve the numbers a little bit. So the new balance on the mortgage would have been $79,398.95. Okay? The best case scenario on the mortgage. Okay? Well, let's see how we do if it was us. I mean, let's figure out our own numbers. So Ambroise, same Shell Point mortgage. Okay. Same thing, because we wanted to compare apples to apples with them, we only made a transfer of 20,000 from the ELOC to the mortgage. So again, same thing, we went from 100. After the 20,000 transfer, it became 80,000. Okay. But for these guys, they're gonna start using the debt tool, in this case, the Regents ELOC, because Regents ELOCs offer greater liquidity, so Regents ELOC would be the debt tool for them. So now they're gonna dump all the income into that account, okay? And all income including cash flow, so that account will keep cash flow, okay? But remember, this group likes to talk about how to get rid of a mortgage, so that's why we concentrate on the mortgage, okay? So they're gonna keep cash flow inside the Regents ELOC for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, okay? So whatever how long it takes, they want to amass enough cash flow so they could execute the next chunk, okay, to the mortgage. Since they want to talk about mortgage, so we are also talking about the mortgage. Okay? But look at us, America. After the transfer from the ELOC to the mortgage, we don't have just $601.05, $601.05 going to the mortgage. America, we have $7,351.05. So it's that amount minus, not minus 601.05, which is the principal amount. Okay, because you lose the interest, the bank earns the interest on you. But for us, it'll be $7,351.05. Okay? Remember, that amount includes the interest, so let's add the interest back up, and the interest portion was $200. Put theirs right here instead. 7,398.95. That was their results. Okay. Well, let's find out what our results is. So 80,000, 100 minus the 20,000 transfer amount, minus, because the payment gonna reduce the balance on the mortgage, $7,351.05. Okay, plus $200. I am at $72,800. $648.95. Let me run my numbers one more time, making sure I did not make any mistake. So you would have been 3,000 out of the 1601. Because remember the 1601, 800 was for tax and insurance. Okay, so it's only 801. Okay, so let's see, principal 601.05. Double check my number one more time. Plus 2,700 plus $50 minus double check my number one more time. $801, 601.05 plus 3,000 plus 2,700, 601.05 plus 3,000 plus 2,700 plus $50 minus 800 minus 80,000. Let me do it a different way because I'm getting a little tired of America. Sharpwood mortgage. We have only 601.25 plus 3,000. Because remember, only the principal portions reduces that amount because the 1601 is comprised of the principal and interest plus the escrow account. Okay, so we have to put that 800 escrow account on the side. So 601.25 plus 3,000 plus 2,700 plus $50. That's the total payment that's gonna reduce that 80,000. So 601.05, 601.05 plus $3,000 plus 2,700 plus $50 minus 80,000. So I'm at 73. $648.95. Okay. And again, 601.05, that's the principal portions that reduces the balance on the SharePoint mortgage. So 80,000 minus 601.05 minus 3,000 that goes in there minus 2,700, which was the cash flow, minus $50. Sure enough, $73,648.95. Okay. Now, comparing ours real quick with Velocity Banking Group, because these folks are always talking about how they could get rid of a mortgage inside a few years, up to 7 years. Okay. Imagine America. And they're usually talking about their plans being some kind of accelerated debt repayment method. Well, the balance on the mortgage, okay, at the end of the cycle, going to be, for them, $79,398.95. Look at the balance on the mortgage at the end of the cycle for us, $73,648.95. Okay. Lower is better. Okay. Lower is better. So the ending balance on the mortgage for them would have been $79,398.95. The ending balance for us, $73,648.95. A difference of $5,750. And again, these folks, they're talking about they could get rid of the mortgage inside a few years, up to 7 years. Okay? And they're referring to their plan as some form of accelerated debt repayment plan. Okay? If they're calling their plan an accelerated debt repayment plan of velocity banking, when we are doing better than they are, when we are a superior debt repayment method. If their plan is an accelerated type plan, why does that make us? When A, we are a superior debt repayment method, and B, we're having better results than they are. The ending balance on the mortgage for them, about $79,398. The ending balance on the mortgage for us, $73,648. A difference of $5,750. Which debt repayment method, America, you think gonna go past the finish line first? Okay. And again, today we're doing event priority. We generally do not attack an account that is at 3%. The only exceptions is when we're doing event priority on that account. Okay? And again, wife was spooked because her neighbor just lost her house via foreclosure. So that's why, she wanted to attack the mortgage first. Okay? America, over at Ambroise Method, we are a different kind of talent. By the grace of God, a different kind of talent, America. Whatever this inferior debt repayment method group could do, that snowball group, that avalanche group, velocity banking group, whatever they could do, America, okay, we should be able to do better. Okay? Spirit of Father, thank you. All right, America, I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look at what's on the board, and then we're going to continue with the exercise. All right, America. Again, my name is James Ambroise. I am the author, creator of Ambroise Method 1.0 and Ambroise Method 2.0. Ambroise Method is a revolutionary debt repayment method that offers greater results in terms of reducing interest cost compared to debt snowball, debt avalanche, velocity banking. Thank you, Jesus. Until next time, America.